Hell yeah. Let's go. You know, I'm really interested in just playing the game all over again when I finally beat it. Just straight up right away with a different class set. What would it look like if I decided to play with a new set? Well, I want to try the warrior. I also want to try the thief. Obviously, that's too many vanillas and I still want to try out the other classes. I'm pretty sure the trainer has good defenses. If not, well, fuck. No, didn't mean to. I want to give the Evoker another chance, if possible. And the Dancer. Because they look cute. Yeah, this is what my next playthrough will look like if I decide to do it. I have plenty of other games I'd rather want to play though, so who knows. They don't seem that defensive. Yikes, that might be a problem. Look at us zoom. Well, the armor will tell all. Okay, they can wear chainmail. So yeah, they can work as a front line. They can pass as a frontliner. Enough of that. Back to Yuriai's adventures for now. I believe we're just gonna continue on with whatever the heck we were doing in the water dungeon. I just want to note the class change is a secret. And also entirely optional. Like, I mean, the game is technically easy enough, provided you know what you're doing. But otherwise, I don't see anyone having a fun time doing the water, much less the air dungeon, without having their class changed yet. Because the class change really helps. Yeah, it's very... Alma. Alright, the Naga's bad news. Focus fire on them first. Go cast mute. It's not as if the plains biome is hard to get reserve stuff. I should be a bit more liberal with these. Well, there's also the case to be made that I shouldn't be stupid with them either, so... Aha! Tried casting a spell, did ya? Wait, did I just use the Iron Staff? like an idiot and do nothing, I'm actually the smartest person to ever exist. Yep, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot to use gauntlet. Wow, 1 damage? Okay, it poisoned. Oh, it took some damage actually. Yeah, I'm gonna go buy 99 of those. Should be an item shop in this place. Yeah, thankfully. I'll buy 10 of these. I don't think I'll be needing any more houses than I currently have. I'm pretty sure I'm set for life with the amount of houses I have. Which is a very funny sentence to say. $50. Alright, let's just get right back into it. Honestly, Miara's kinda useless as well, for the most part. I don't want to use her sample reserves too quickly. And her current skills, the current skills she has are useless for the most part on normal encounters. So I'm gonna give Miara the Zeus Gauntlet. And Teosra will use the Healing Staff instead. I think that's a good idea. That way the two of them can do something. Observe. Ha! I believe the effectivity of the spells these items cast are still affected by your stats, at least in Renaissance. In the original Final Fantasy for the NES, Wisdom did nothing. So spells never became stronger. Well, at least they never became weaker as well. But yeah. Alright, let's try rolling for RNG. Oh. Whoa. Maybe I should swap the rolls. Mara has the heal. Tailsra will handle the attacking. Just kill it quick, I guess. Bubble curtain should work. Alright. I don't even need the bubble curtain. Oh well, it's no big deal, honestly. Our elemental just hits really hard. And we got it back pretty much right away. Big Eye. Usual strategy of assuming the worst rather than letting your guard down and taking it easy on an unknown foe. Assume every new enemy has 999 HP and can cast Rub with 100% accuracy. Okay, they're pretty tough. Very much not that threatening. How do I get in here? Sea Troll. Let's try to see if we can fish for an attack. A strong one. Didn't work. Ha! A single sea troll? Oh, I want to try jumping again. Maybe restarting the game fix the jump. Nope. Uh-huh. Idiot, you missed. According to a guide I read, the leaping boots are supposed to make it so jumping activates immediately. Yep. Forgot to equip the iron staff. Actually, I think the mage staff is better. Has better hit rate. Teosra, with her current level, might even do 2 hits every now and then with that. Try it again. It simply doesn't. Ugh. Hey. I do believe I am still kind of considered overpowered. Definitely an enemy here. Nope. The water bell! Okay, that's gonna be useful. That should make the water stuff actually deal good damage now, even if pretty much everyone here is supposed to be resistant to it anyhow. And if I wear the earth belt, I can sample the caves, and it'll be great. Check this out. Ow. Deal 1 damage even to zero thrust. Double the damage, it still sucks, but hey. Oh, the water belt should increase the efficiency of the ocean as well. I don't feel like going to the ship just to sample though. This should guarantee a kill even on the lowest roll. Thanks to Miara. Yeah, crowds aren't actually all that annoying anymore. They're actually worth fighting now. But, you know, running gives no XP, but fighting does.
What about it? The more I realized that the battle isn't as great as I thought it was. Now, to be fair, you have to initiate it by pushing it with force, which is a big move. But even with that being said, there's a few issues here. Really, it's just that the battle is forced upon you and is also entirely unnecessary. It's sort of a big move by the player, but I honestly wouldn't consider it an engagement, because my guy Nappa over here is obviously in the way and is just hoping that you go away in a very unassertive and disruptive fashion. Far more importantly though, and the reason I'm bringing this up at all, is that it is literally impossible for you to kill him since he's an incorporeal ghost. Even during the genocide room, if you show up to his room after exhausting the kill counter, he just disappears before you can attempt to battle him. You pose literally zero threat to him, yet he still attacks you. Granted, in air quotes, and while with other monsters I could somewhat defend their battles as being misguided since they're mortal, and hence likely have self-preservation instincts kicking in with this new possible threat in their home, Nap's look just doesn't...
Water elemental.
He hasn't even been laying down here long, as Toriel is much further into the ruins than you, and there's only one way to proceed. And he can literally fly, so the battle is entirely pointless. This is exceptionally nitpicky, and I can't help but feel for the dude, but I thought I'd bring it up because I knew people were going to comment on it eventually. Anyways, that passed me fuck, I can't do transitions. Everything else, though, it's pretty one note. That is until we get to Toriel, who, honestly, just like all the other enemies, doesn't really have ill intent. In fact, she specifically wants to keep you safe. Her battle is ultimately a test before considering the possibility of letting you out of the ruins. Even in combat, she doesn't want to hurt you, as her attacks do eventually begin to wane if enough time passes or your health becomes low. And in the surprisingly rare case that you do manage to die to her, there's a singular frame where she appears shocked before your soul shatters. Of course, this is practically inviting 100 I died tutorial moments, but it's genuinely kind of hard to see this because, again, her attacks begin to wane, meaning that you practically have to plan your death in order to see it. But it is a pretty neat tidbit that further reinforces that idea of her testing. However, unlike other enemies we fought, tutorial literally gives you a trial by fire, and that's a massive no-no. I've said this over and over and over again, but since people really like to confidently tell me that incendiary weapons are legal to use in war, and hence my viewpoints on fire attacks,
oops, I didn't mean to use it here, I meant to use it here.
I'm going to take this as an opportunity to point at the hypothetical side. Incendiary weapons are perfectly legal to use in war, but due to their nature of being extremely fucking painful and their prevalent usage throughout all of human history, there are a ton of regulations on how and when you can use them. For example, one of the most common use cases for them is to clear out foliage, whether it be to force an enemy out of a fortified position or to make a potential advance easier. This is a perfectly acceptable tactic. Using them against civilians, say hypothetically a child, one that could potentially be unarmed and harmless, mind you, with absolutely no tactical advantages for using fire in particular, it's completely fucked and prohibited. You don't do that. Bad. However, this is where I can finally circle back to the elephant in the room, and that's the different routes you can pursue in this game.
Fourth encounter?
There's pacifism, neutral, and genocide. And I decided to wait until tutorial was over with, as I believe the ruins is a good checkpoint to talk about this. Because, let's say in a hypothetical situation, you decided to kill everyone in the ruins. The only way that word can get out that you're a cold-blooded psychopath is if our favorite, or potentially second favorite skeleton boy, Ness, investigates and decides to warn others. Which is something he wouldn't do. Snowden will be evacuated if you continue on the genocide route, but I believe it's Elphys who is ordering or leading the evacuation here. There are also spiders that could potentially get word out, but since they can't inhabit or even survive in the tundra of Snowden, word would have to get over by Hotland and eventually make its way back, which isn't impossible.
I'm not risking it against these guys. Alright, they're resistant to fire, it seems.
This means that, at least in my opinion, for a little while after Snowden,
we got really
even if
lucky,
you're a
none of us
genocidal
got
monster, you
slapped,
probably have
got
a little while
incapacitated,
to wait before
or turned into
anyone
stone,
has the
but...
right to attack you.
Oh wow, they're weak to
In
water.
fact, on that note,
Holy shit.
let's talk about child soldiers real quick. Recruiting or deploying child soldiers is a massive war crime.
Power
But
gloves.
in the cases that this
It's
was
so
disregarded
bad.
and they were deployed as combatants, they were killed because ultimately they are still threats to you and the lives of others.
And they can be used.
The thing that really needs to be highlighted here in particular, though, is recruiting or deploying. Because ultimately the crime is on the militia that recruits and or fields them. Not the child or those who have to make the unfortunate decision on how they want to handle the situation.
And they don't need to equip
That being said, in a scenario where a kid is an active threat towards the lives of you or others, it wouldn't be a crime to neutralize the threat. However, you begin to take into account the neutral route, where there is an incredibly varied amount of conditions and decisions that can range from desperately retaliating against an unjust aggressor out of self-defense, to becoming a genocidal monster that decided to spare Sunderplane in particular for whatever reason. And honestly, it could just be this entire legal thing, and I genuinely don't know where or how to draw the line without spending hours upon hours upon hours rationalizing every possible neutral playthrough. However, to go ahead and set a standard, let's say that in Genocide, after the buffer of the ruins and a few enemies in Snowden, in fact maybe even just an enemy in Snowden, everyone has the right to utilize force to detain or potentially even kill you. For a neutral route though, obviously it depends on the run and the severity of your actions. If you're resorting to murder a lot, the monsters would have the right to deal with you as seen fit. Likewise, it would be an appropriate response if you've murdered innocent monsters, or monsters that have a high rank in the guard, or other similar positions. However, if you've only resorted to murder against enemies that approach you with the malicious intent of, killing you, it would be kind of hard to rationalize that neutralization would be an appropriate response. Then in pacifism, attacking you is just a straight-up war crime. Full stop. Well, even then, there's exceptions. If you're doing some weirdo pacifism route where you're just beating the fuck out of everyone before sparing them, then it's probably valid. But, like I said, I don't want to turn this video into 2 hours discussing whether or not you're able to be slaughtered if you were a Whimsun, so I'm going for generalizations. Pacifism is okay. I mean, I guess there was that
could technically be a fun challenge.
For promoting a violent
can you do Undertale pacifism without ever pressing the act button? You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised because it actually is possible. I won't get into the details.
In fact,
but just know that it is indeed possible.
The fact that his first response is to imprison you instead of attacking you or killing you. I mean, of course he wants to imprison you, so somebody comes along and kills you, but we'll take what we can get here. Comic antics are going to ensue, so let's just go ahead and move on to the random encounters here, and oh god fucking damn it.
Stop attacking Totra. Oh my god, why? Couldn't you guys have attacked, I don't know, Alma?
Alright, so let's do this in chunks. Firstly, let's cover all the ice enemies, namely Ice Cap, Snowdrake, Chilldrake, and Giftrot. Weather warfare, or militaristic environmental modification techniques, if you're a Redditor, is a war crime specifically when it causes direct harm or inflicts severe long-term effects to an area. This sounds like some weird sci-fi bullshit, and it kind of is because this prohibition was namely for technologies that could be developed, but strategies utilizing it have been used before. For example, the United States actually utilized this in Vietnam by increasing the amount of rainfall in specific strategic locations to make the terrain much more difficult to traverse, which would consequently make them much more difficult to pass through. The primary objective was to deny enemies supply lines, but it also obviously affected enemy movements as well, which overall made it pretty handy. To tie this back into our story,
we already have one of those.
Although this isn't inflicting damage to the environment for obvious reasons, the snow and wind hurt.
I'll give it to Alma.
Quite a lot, actually. And, I mean, to be fair, I actually have to somewhat defend the monsters here, as a lot of the restrictions are based on the understanding that utilizing modification techniques would likely cause harm on a large scale.
Alma can still just auto-attack.
They're not exactly causing irreversible damage to Snowden and its inhabitants by using snowy attacks in the snowy forest, and I wouldn't consider a child a large scale.
Yeah, lots of really good stuff.
But even with that being said, it does also prohibit the use of any techniques that will result in damage or injury, and although a child is not a large scale, shoving one inside of a box to dodge a fucking blizzard is kind of damaging. Honestly, this one is kind of literally up in the air, mostly because you can't exactly localize a storm within a few feet. And I feel like if that technology were to somehow be developed, it'd not only be extremely inefficient, but also incredibly cruel. Like, there's a reason a rain cloud over someone's head is a common trope for somebody experiencing depression. It's kind of fucked up. But, I mean, I just see how people would think that calling them war criminals is kind of pedantic, especially in the case of Childrake, since you need to kill Snowdrake in order to encounter him, but
Yeah, fuck it, I'm
I
kinda
could also
scared
see
of
why it'd still be
encountering someone
prohibited.
terrible.
Let's just go ahead and put all three of these on a watch list. Note 3 instead of 4 because Giftrot has another funny quirk about him. One of Giftrot's attacks takes the form of a present, so
Ooh, a
that's
ribbon
pretty
helmet.
terrible.
Cute.
As I've already mentioned, one of the most malicious things I can design
Ribbon
a weapon around
resists
is
most
anything that
statuses.
is closely related to or attracts children. Inevitable YouTuber jokes aside, all I'm saying is that a 7-year-old me would probably sprint through hell and back for one of these damn cartoonishly oversized presents. Anyway, moving past these 4 idiots, Glide shoots fucking stars at you, and I feel like that would probably be a crime. Stars are kind of hot. Also, when you consider that the only other enemy in
Chosra?
the game with starlight projectiles humbly titles themselves
That way she can
as
always
the god
use
of
aggress.
hyperdeath, I'm gonna say that it's probably
And you know,
very
she won't get poisoned, which is always a
I mean,
bonus.
technically, Night Knight has the sun, which is a star, but you know what I mean. Lastly, all the dogs are more or less fine. Nothing I can find particularly damning about them. They're just doggies. They have little doggy mannerisms. Look at this one. I'm petting him. He's going to a damn moon. It's a doggy. Anyway, let's go ahead and check up on Papyrus.
Now if we had a fighter, they'd be able to do 5 hits per normal attack by now. Basically guaranteeing anyone they fight as long as they aren't resistant to physical.
It'd 1000% be.
Which there aren't that many enemies resistant to physical.
In fact,
They can kill.
This puzzle, so I think Papyrus is fine for the most part. Well, at the very least until its boss battle. One question though, real quick. Where's he getting all these bones? This isn't like an exclusively in-battle thing either. Even his house just has tons of bones everywhere. I'm not going to throw in a conspiracy theory that Papyrus is actually a cold-blooded killer that has butchered countless innocent souls so he can use their desecrated remains as a weapon, but this is just a concerning amount of bones for anyone to have. But luckily, other than that, there's not a lot to hate. And here's something I genuinely didn't know before starting this video. If Papyrus manages to defeat you, he doesn't kill you. Instead, you're placed in his tool shed, or ghoul shed if you will, and are given a bowl of dry food, a squeaky toy, and an overly small bed. You're technically barred in, but
Ooh.
just like the bridge from way earlier,
Now
the
that's
bars
a
are
lovely
way too
spear.
small, so you can just leave if you really want to.
That sucks.
Shit, if you manage to lose 3 times in a row,
What the hell is
Papyrus
this?
just gives you the
I mean, look at
option
that
to
hit
skip
rate,
the
though.
fight altogether, which, I mean, honestly,
And
the
the
dude's
crit.
mostly innocent. Granted, he is ultimately attempting to capture you, so he
I'll
can
give it a
eventually
try.
be killed, which is fucked up. Admittedly, I don't think he wants that to happen, but it's
Well,
ultimately
Umag could use
what
some
happen. And
change.
granted, he is harming you in his attempts to capture you, but considering the fact that he heals you afterwards,
You know, maybe a
and
new
he's
spear
one of
will
the
help-
very
will
few characters in this
fix
game
it
that
at
you
last.
cannot die to, he's kind of leading the charge for ethics, and I think that is incredibly fitting considering his character.
Nope.
I'm gonna touch up on this more later regarding a future
Seriously,
encounter, but
whatever happened to Alma? No
he's
one
just
cares
a
about
cool
her
dude.
anymore. Oh, okay, I
Oh,
spoke too soon, didn't I?
Anyway, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, Undone. Jesus Christ, Undone is not happy with her continued existence. On a good note, she is utilizing a spear, which I'm going to go ahead and say is perfectly fine. She does have spears that seem to be made from pure energy, as shown in-game and in artwork, but honestly, I wouldn't go as far as to say that it's a war crime. It doesn't seem to gain any particularly harmful properties other than just being a spear, so all things considered, I'm going to say that it's fine.
It's literally just a
As for
spear.
this level of violence,
A spear is just a weapon.
not so much.
They were legal.
However, for the time being, I want
As
to go
long as
ahead and
humans have waged
transition
war
into
at
the
each other.
encounters of the area
And even
save
before
on
that.
time for later, since she's currently a ruthless murder machine that doesn't require much elaboration. So, to start with Washua, he has a very similar problem to Vegetoid from way earlier. The dude wants to cleanse the world of filth, and because of that, the way to spare him is to ask him to clean you and approach a green water projectile.
I feel like
To be fair, unlike Vegetoid, who tells you to eat your greens, there isn't much confusion in what you're supposed to approach.
detection rate right now is kind of
water
reversed.
isn't typically green.
Mara,
on
the one at
same
the
note,
bottom seems to be
water
the one
isn't
that gets
typically
targeted the most
harmful
right
to the
now.
touch. It has the potential to be, don't get me wrong, water jets are extremely powerful, but unless somebody decides to point one of those directly at your chest, most of the time you're probably looking at losing a limb at absolute worst. Washua over here, on the other hand, yeah, 4 of these water droplets touching you and you're fucking dead. That's not typical. And another similar problem appears with the soap projectile. Soap isn't exactly a lethal melee weapon, even if you're in prison, so I think this could very potentially mislead a child into killing themselves. Aaron is... well, he's Aaron. I feel like we need Chris Hansen in here, because anybody who talks to a child like this should probably be given the death penalty. Maybe that's too extreme, though? I mean, I am closing in on that silver play button, and I've seen what that has done to channels. It's like the One Ring, but instead of bestowing power upon the wearer, it just kind of makes you an awful person. Which
She
is
does
why
more
I'd
hits,
like to
and I'm
remind
pretty
you
sure
that
she
if
is
you're
dealing more
liking this
damage
video,
on average right now,
please
so...
do not smash that like and subscribe button. I don't
I'll
want to
keep
be
the spear.
conscripted. Do not engage with this video in any capacity. Let it die and let my channel fade into obscurity. Do you know what makes me even more upset? I've been looking through a lot of the dialogue in the Undertale wiki to make sure that I don't miss anything, and I was looking through Shyren, and I was like, huh, you're more vulnerable to electric attacks. Does Shyren have any electric attacks? I don't remember her having any, but then it hit me just a few minutes ago. It's because you're conducting. You're conducting electricity. I wish to perish. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and cover the rest of the random encounters in the game, as the next few zones are pretty simple, and I don't want to break up the flow of the overall plot and more significant encounters over stuff like Sunderplay.
Sunder.
Like the Hotlands. Can you guess some of the problems that
Oh,
you may
I remember
encounter
now, I
here?
meant to... I was like, I feel like I'm forgetting something.
Yeah, I don't
It's
think I
Tails and
particularly
Mara, they need to switch
elaborate on
places.
specifics. As for the core, I think the only real criminal here is Night Knight, who summons the goddamn moon and the meteor shower. Or alternatively, the goddamn sun with accompanying solar flares. Again, I'm gonna cite Glide here and say that burning your enemies with meteors or literal solar flares is a bit much. Especially since solar flares can act as an EMP, since they're literally intense eruptions of electromagnetic radiation. But you know what? It's always just a joy to deploy in the middle of the technology-themed area. I don't see how that could potentially go wrong. Anyway, with all that said and done, after Undyne casually destroys a bridge in order to stop us, we have another boss battle in the form of the Mad Dummy, who seems to be a leader of some variety. We've had enemies with attacks that had other entities in them, sure, but this is the first and, as far as I'm aware, the only time that you face off against somebody who could potentially be labeled as a commander in battle. And therefore utilizing that position by commanding others to attack you with the intention of killing you. Which, I mean, being a war criminal is already quite bad, but being a war criminal by using others to achieve your goals is really a lot worse, and the repercussions of this are typically much more dire. Also, I know this is incredibly meta, but the reason for him attacking you depends on how you handle the first dummy in the ruins. Whether you spare it, attack it, flee from it, or even bore it. But regardless of your actions, there is no outcome here to avoid this battle. And with that in mind, I honestly think the dude was just looking for an excuse to attempt to attack and kill you. This one could be debated, it's honestly kind of nitpicky, but
they hit really hard.
Those are my thoughts at least. Anyway, as if that isn't bad enough, once you get past all of its attacks, his last resort is to attempt to keep you hostage in this battle forever, which is absolutely a war crime. You may be curious as to why, as we were just talking about Papyrus and I commended his detainment, but here's the thing. I'm not gonna lie, this really isn't a great prison cell. The food is terrible, the bed is way too small. So far there isn't anything to drink, there aren't any toilets or sinks or anything like that. All you really have is a hard wooden floor to lay on and ponder life. But the fact that Papyrus goes out of his way to bring you to a safe and warm building, away from the cold and bitter environment of Snowden, with food, a bed, and notes that reference how much he genuinely cares for your safety and well-being is really nice. Plus, I'm sure if you asked him to bring you any of those things I just mentioned, he'd be more than happy to oblige. Your cell is right next to his house, and his notes remind you that you can talk to him. For example, I don't really think it'd be too difficult to get some decent food or drink because you're literally right next to buildings. And as we all know, skeleton-like buildings. With the dummy, though, you're just trapped, with absolutely no sustenance in a cold, dark, wet environment not fit for habitation, with a captor who would probably torment
Poison still sucks.
time you're powerless to escape. The conditions are inhumane and would 100% count as a crime. Fortunately for us, though, our ghostly pal is here to save us, and as always, he's just a friend. Not only does he refuse to attack us, but he saves us from a literally heartless jailer. What a fucking legend. Unfortunately for us, though, so in order to beat Undyne, you have to flee from her repeatedly. Continuing to pressure and assault your enemy while they're fleeing isn't a war crime if they don't surrender. In fact, even if the target is a prisoner of war, it's a very extreme measure and it needs to be preceded by appropriate warnings, but it can still be legal as a last resort. Seeing as Undyne gives you a very clear warning, I'm going to go ahead and say that she's in the right in a neutral
Time to go ballistic.
In pacifism, though, it's honestly a bit
Feeds
tricky.
balls is shattered, evaporating all the water.
Tried to kill you several
Ho ho
times
ho!
before, and
How
that you're
foolhardy to
clearly
dare
still
challenge
ahead,
me,
it's
Kraken,
towards
the
evil
fiend
side.
of water.
But you have ultimately progressed past
Got a
several
guy or a girl.
guards, have been told multiple times to stop progressing through the underground, and yet still seem to be pushing forward despite the warnings, including the very clear one given before the fight. It's honestly a lot more grave than I initially thought. That being said, though, a lot of this is just thrown out of the window if you ever used a plead option in battle. You told Undyne you didn't want to fight, and you told Undyne that you just want to be friends is a surrender in my eyes, at least. And the fact that option usually does nothing, or, at best, only slows down her onslaught is a huge red flag, and is ultimately something that needs to be respected. Fleeing
Echo
after
might actually
surrendering
work
is
well.
a lot more complicated, but obviously this isn't agreed upon, so it's just a relentless killing at this point. This situation does have a lot of variables, though. Like, another thing I didn't really talk about in depth is that you should lay down your arms if you wish to surrender. Whether or not a fucking stick counts as military equipment is a different discussion. Or whether or not a successful fleet followed by surrender could potentially be deceptive. Or how the safe point spawning before a fight could possibly be a net positive. So instead of going down every single one of these potential factors, let me just list off the total war private and zero pacifism. Our character begins combat by pleading for Undyne to stop attacking. And when that request is ignored and the aggression still continues, we begin to
for our fallen comrade.
Yet despite not
yeah.
using a weapon, showing zero harmful or malicious intent, and specifically stating that we do not want to fight, Undyne still chooses
no, look
now
what
the
she
weapons
did to
and
our
attempts to kill us.
poor girl.
This viciousness will continue until we reach the Hotlands, and she faints due to the excessive heat. In order to pursue the true pacifist route, we need to give her water and ensure that she's okay, but our character really has no obligation to do so. In fact, it's really quite a shitty decision, but we do it regardless, and only after that she chooses to back away. This took a while, but that's another here and now. Afterwards, though, we have Metaton's bizarre adventure.
Of course it had to be the one who had the ability to revive.
I'll be honest, I really just fucking hate this part of the game. Nothing makes me enjoy a game more than being bombarded with text and dialogue every 0.14 seconds while attempting to proceed through an area. I understand that's supposed to be the joke, but it happens at such a frequency that it becomes more of an unfunny annoyance than anything else. Again, I know that's supposed to be part of the joke, but let me complain, damn it. Back on topic though, to be perfectly frank, I'm going to go with cruel and inhuman treatment here. You're getting put into all these extremely messed up scenarios, like a quiz show that prompts a painful electric shock if you choose an incorrect option, or nearly getting killed by a murderous robot with a chainsaw, a weapon that in of itself would probably be considered cruel and poor, or being forced to fuse a
I'll be right back. I want some anything to drink.
Frame, with the threat of dying in a massive explosion being inevitable. And this, again, it is impossible to fail or die in any of the scenarios, however Anyway, moving past all that, so sorry is
we got the slab.
an encounter that exists.
So I know I should at least give that to this old person.
About this bizarre creature, and I feel like time could be spent a lot better.
Why?
For example,
Why do you
White
exist?
Muffet is an absolute asshole. Firstly is the fact that she's fighting you primarily because she wants money.
Power of water. Now our country will prosper like
the fact
before.
that you're cruel to spiders, but
Oh.
obviously
thought
that's
you were
not
the guy
true,
that-
as you can just skip the fight entirely by buying pastries, even going as far as accusing you of theft if you eat one that you buy from the ruins. You can bribe her to lower her damage in battle, and her dialogue in said battle tells an entirely different story. Firstly, the genocide route, despite Alphys going out of her way to warn Buffett about her imminent death and the evacuation effort, she stayed behind for incredibly vague reasons, and her only regret was not wrapping Alphys up and eating her. Lesbian jokes aside, this perfectly correlates with her dialogue in a pacifist or neutral route, where she claims that she's battling you because she wants to turn you into food, and because somebody put a very large bounty on your head. Ignore.
Alright. The Rosetta Stone. Go back for it on L5 with a trio of chests. Did I get that? Did I actually miss a chest? I thought I was pretty thorough. Oh, they renamed They renamed the Rosetta Stone the Slab. After completing the Shrunken Shrine, find yourself back outside Onrak. I guess that's what this place is called. Use your canoe, head north and into the waterfall. This leads to a mini dungeon. North is our next destination then, it seems. Let's go! Hope we don't run into any
The
Ankylosauruses.
very feasible mercenary angle of that. This entire battle is just theft. Plain and simple. Technically, theft in of itself isn't a war
I need to
crime,
sample.
but assuming there are combatants and non-combatants, stealing personal belongings by force absolutely is. Or more accurately, it can be. Especially since it's driven by greed and personal gain. And doubly so since the target is a non-combatant. A trapped non-combatant with no other choice, mind you. More on that in a second, though. Secondly, in regards to feeding you to her
I think the enemies might just be genuinely smart. They're still avoiding Alma.
That is just
and
a
Umag for the
massive
most part.
violation on the treatment and disposal of the dead. Which is surprisingly something that the Underground is really solid at accounting for. Not only do you need to respect the dead and their remains, but you also can't mutilate or despoil them. This is so the dead can properly be identified and accounted for, and to be perfectly honest, the monsters do get a slight pass here, as the one time a human corpse has ever been returned, it ended fucking terribly. Actually, a slight pass is rather disingenuous, because the Underground has been extremely good with preserving the dead, with every fallen human being put into a coffin and properly treated for. There are some extremely hefty caveats to that we're going to get into later, but at least for now, you still need to give the dead a proper burial or send-off, and getting eaten by a giant cupcake spider or being used for ingredients is not a traditionally viable alternative. Thirdly, back on that traps note, you're literally stuck in a spider web. I actually wouldn't call the web in of itself a booby trap, as it doesn't harm you in of itself and it doesn't act unexpectedly. I mean, you're literally walking on a spider web, which means that it entirely escapes the definition of a booby trap. But I would consider its usage potentially illegal. It's hard to say anything in a concise legal manner, but considering the fact that it is a trap and that it's by definition a biological weapon, there's a case to be made that it's illegal in pacifism specifically. That being said, in genocide or even a neutral route, I actually think it's a perfectly acceptable thing to use, since ensnaring somebody isn't a crime whatsoever. But ensnaring an innocent passerby to torment them and rob them of their money? Yeah, it's a little bit more questionable. Lastly, allergies. My entire face has been burning for like the last 3 days. Recording audio genuinely hurts, but fuck it, we all. Anyway, she does also throw croissants and donuts at you, but she does save herself by specifically highlighting the attack before pulling it off. Since it can never be her first attack, and since the sign always correlates with an attack, it's pretty clear that the pastries are weaponized and that you shouldn't attempt to face tank it. If it came without warning, it'd be a different issue altogether, but I think it's actually fine in this case. With all that said and done though, Muffet was not a fantastic person, but trust me when I say it's about to get much worse very quickly. Moving forward to the core, I already mentioned Night Knights, so we don't have to get into the random encounters themselves. But with the Mettaton and Alphys storyline, the core and its inhabitants are the first threat so far that have been genuine, with Mettaton deploying mercenaries to attempt and kill the protagonist. He also rearranged the layout, which is likely why you have to go through this laser bullshit, which I'm not a fan of. But after all is said and done and we get past all the goons and all the obstacles that were laid before us, we finally confront Mettaton and the truth about this adventure is revealed. Afterwards we have a glorious boss battle, which is really fun. It's a boss battle that I really suck at though. I don't know why. I beat Asgore on my first attempt, I beat Sans on my first attempt, I beat Omega Flally on my first attempt, I beat Undyne the Undying on my second attempt, but face Mettaton, I think that took me like 4 or 5 tries, which is really bizarre. I just can't get the hang of this mechanic, I don't know. Back on topic though,
guy can't shoot in a shooter game.
You can only see a murderous robot attempting to kill a child on live television for the prospect of fame. Obviously, Desecration of the Dead comes up again, as Mettaton is intending on stealing your soul for himself, but again, for all intents and purposes, you're getting killed on live stream. For the views, I love child murder. I'm such a Sagittarius. I know it's a really weird line to draw in the sand, but I genuinely don't know how much I can talk about this, as this has been an incredibly controversial subject with the rise of social media. As in, not even a year ago, the entire internet, as we know it, was in danger because Sissy Backwards uploaded footage of a terrorist attack online, and the victim's family pushed to hold social media liable for having algorithms which promoted it, and subsequently could have potentially aided international terrorism. The Supreme Court did unanimously decide that there was no need to weigh on it then, but I think you could see the potential parallels that I'm trying to draw here, and why I'd overall just like to avoid it. Not because I'm a content creator, like, I am a Zoomer, and I am by definition a content creator, and even I think social media has just been a complete deficit on society as a whole. But if my channel is deleted, or YouTube is otherwise thrown out the window, I would really appreciate it if my last words weren't about a sexy robot man and his sexy legs and his real-world implications with the Middle East. So, all in all, we're just gonna go with violence to life. It's really fucked. After this fight and a pseudo-cutscene of sorts, we have our next boss battle with the man himself, Asgore, who goes ahead and smashes that mercy button almost as hard as YouTubers want you to smash your subscribe buttons. Is Asgore conscripting me into a child soldier? I have to disagree. Children who have not attained the age of 15 shall not be allowed to take part in hostilities. I mean, Asgore isn't really giving me a choice here, but a lot of protocols also specify that the parties to the conflict can't recruit children into their armed forces, but I'm not being forced to fight for Asgore. I'm being forced to fight Asgore. I mean, I believe the answer to that initial question is still a yes, since I'm still being forced to take part in hostilities, but my brain is really struggling here.
What do we have here?
Like the Geneva Convention
Go the
hasn't
river.
really accounted for some warlord recruiting a bunch of children to fight for their cause just to immediately declare them an enemy and begin fighting them. It's like elementary school PE class and it's dodgeball
you know what?
day.
I think
Then all
the
of a
ribbon
sudden,
should go
the
to Alma.
PE teacher who assigned the teams joins the losing team, and Dark Souls music
I
just
think it's
starts
fine if
blaring.
Teosra gets into any
None of
situation,
this
but
is
if
really relevant or even insightful.
If
At
someone
this point, I'm just
insta-kills
spouting
or
nonsense
poisons
because the only
Alma
thing
and
that
no one can
Asgore
revive
does
her,
is
that'd be a
spread more
real
fire
problem.
than a United States gender reveal party, and I'm stalling because I'm really not anticipating what comes after.
I don't know. Yeah. Right wall strategy. Mud golems. Been a while since I saw you guys. Still don't know what you guys are weak to. Now, I've never used compressed time before. Let's use it. Teosra!
You know what? I don't even really want to do voiceover here. In fact, I haven't even scripted this part out. And I'm up to this point yet.
Zawarudo! Tokyo
I guess I'm
Tomare!
just going to do a sick montage to the music and leave a short descriptor on why it's a war crime and come back in a few minutes.
I guess I will
have
put
fun.
up here on Umag. How did you stand up? I want to try out Comet. Blam! That was pathetic. Nightmare. You've gotten too close. But yikes, you're resistant to magic, huh? Well, except for water, apparently. They aren't that big of a deal. all things considered. My goodness. What? That's a load of horse shit. I've already talked about its difficulty and how this game really isn't easy. What this game is, though, is time-consuming and at many points frustrating. I'd compare its difficulty to like a point-and-click adventure game where you're just stuck, you don't know how to progress, and the game doesn't make it clear how you're supposed to progress. And Final Fantasy suffers from that problem, mostly due to some localization issues maybe, as well as...
Alright, did you guys have fun? Anyways, afterwards, we make the incredibly dumb decision to spare Flowey, as we want to go ahead and pursue the pacifism route. Of course, to do so, we have to do some comic antics, which range in intensity, but ultimately are mostly harmless.
Just the limitations of the NES.
We have Alphys, the amalgamates, and the entire plotline with the human souls I skipped over to talk about here. We're gonna get a drink of fucking water real quick.
Worthless.
Oh god.
Why does double cast work on that?
Experimentation, one misconception I see regularly.
Oh, it increases my chance of recharging a spell use, I'm pretty sure.
Even with consent, it is prohibited to carry out certain experiments. Now, granted, I'm not going to pretend that a lot of the most powerful countries in the world don't just blatantly ignore human resource ethics. I mean, I live in goddamn America. But there's a list of things that you just can't do, and I will concede that I'm not very knowledgeable on the International Code of Medical Ethics, but I'd say, even with consent, resurrecting dead citizens into a perpetually melting abomination that fuse with other dead citizens who are also perpetually melting abominations, then refusing to tell the families of those who donated their loved ones about the fact that their loved ones are now horrifying melting amalgamations, despite promising them that their loved ones' ashes would be returned for a burial, and even being contacted repeatedly to ask about the state of that promise. Yeah, no, fuck that. Look at this. Look at this thing. This is irrefutably a crime against humanity. Or rather, a crime against monsters. Actually, miraculously, it's a crime against both. Crimes against everyone. Right now, Alphys is on par with this thing, and come to think of it, Alphys literally created Flowey, so far up to, like, crimes against the universe? I don't know. Is it evident that I'm
Yeah,
losing
Alphys
my
is
fucking
genuinely
mind?
just such a terrible person.
Because I am. I guess I get to talk about
And she
those
does
caveats
deserve
I
to
mentioned
feel
when
like
talking
shit
about the fallen humans.
about everything, but like,
So on a really
no.
good note, the bodies are preserved, which is lovely. On the other hand, though,
Her
their
entire
souls
redemption
were
arc is
from their bodies and
played off as a
meant to
joke,
be used
and we're all
later,
cool with it.
where Asgore would absorb them to become a god and wage war against humanity. Which means, to some extent, the remains were experimented on after death, including their souls, as determination was extracted from it. And I have to be honest, since souls are at least vaguely sentient and conscious,
Whoa.
that only makes
What do you
this
think
even
you're
more
doing, buddy?
because obviously at this
Stop
point
that.
it makes the seventh and last soul required to break the barrier, which would mean that the souls prior to yours have been experimented on and kept in their weakened and vulnerable state for an untold
I was
amount
told
of
there were
time.
plenty of...
I mean, I just described as torture.
Goodbye, you
really.
guys.
And not like for torture where you're getting strapped to a chair and getting your kneecaps bombed, so you can tell the people where you left the item or whatever. No, you're just like kept on the precipice of death, but just not quite able to die.
Ah, shit, I can't
They're
time
edging their
stop.
soul from true death, and I'll be frank, I don't know how the fuck I feel about that, because I don't think the Undertale Afterlife will ever be properly elaborated upon unless Deltarune gets absolutely fucking insane. It's absolutely deprivation of liberty. It's definitely torture. It's definitely illegal. I don't really know. It's fucked. I don't know the full extent of it. I've absolutely no doubt in my mind I missed a lot in this brief synopsis. Truthfully, I think we've
I ain't
gone
letting
all our
anyone
way
turn to
straight
stone.
through Crimes Against Reality somehow, but don't you fucking worry. It's only going to get worse. I love it. I just fucking love it when I engage a boss battle in glorious combat, and before the fight even begins, the boss has already committed mass genocide against an entire species. He also just devoured all the human souls, but frankly, we've gone past everything by now. I just want to get off Mr. Bone's wild ride. Where do I even begin? The God of Hyper. God of fucking Hyper Death. No, I'm done. I'm done with this damn route. I'm done with this damn recording. Get me out. I don't care. What do you want me to say? Oh, you can't blast children with the fucking sun. I already said that. I don't know what I'm supposed to elaborate on. Frankly, my job could be done with a fucking artificial intelligence at this point. You know what? ChatGPT. Hello. Yes. You. Do I have to make an account? God fucking... I'm not committed to the bit. I'm just not. So I went through Bing instead. Personally, they're saying that genocide isn't a war crime, which is extremely progressive, but... and its source was a fucking Undertale Reddit tier list where Papyrus just has his very own Minecraft YouTuber tier. I'm scrolling down through the comments to hopefully find, like, any context as to why Bing would think this is a, appropriate fucking source, and the only thing I'm finding is the definition on what pedophilia is. Frankly, it shouldn't surprise me that the Venn diagram between Redditors, Undertale fans, and anime enjoyers is just a circle, but... Elden Ring.
Toho and Undertale are connected.
Now, of course, you may be curious as to the other route-exclusive encounters in Genocide. Well, I mean, there's hard mode too, I guess, but that'll be coming later. Maybe. Don't count on it. Anyways, despite what you would probably expect, actually, probably the contrary.
Holy shit, that was a lot of damage.
This the entire video, but the Genocide route only gains one potential new addition with Sans, and in all honesty, I'm going to give the dude a pass, since he's the only thing stopping you from destroying the entire world. So, in my humble opinion, getting dunked on is a viable war tactic. As for everything else, there's only subtractions with lots of enemies that will no longer attack you. Papyrus now no longer deploys any traps, but also gives you an opportunity to spare him that is completely unconditional. No need to battle him or repeatedly go to the cool shed to tire him out. Just spare him and the confrontation is over. All is well. Same thing occurs with the Mad Dummy, who turns into the Glad Dummy that you can instantly spare and proceed without conflict. Alternatively, you can just kill him in one hit, since he no longer has a boss battle anymore. Actually, on that note, he's not the only boss you can just skip by killing instantly. Of course, there's Metaton and Asgore, which don't even have attacks. On one hand, I know it's the entire point. On the other hand, I think Neo's theme goes in way too fucking hard to just be a pushover fight you kill in one hit. On a similar note, technically Muffet and Toriel's fights are still
you can transfer to the floating castle.
As the fights will continue as normal if you don't attempt to kill them.
A coral sword.
But just like all the other bosses I mentioned, they still die, which, at the very least, likely results in the fight ending before any
whip that controls monsters.
Also, Omega Flowey and Azrael
It's a useless item.
aren't really around anymore by the virtue of fucking
Why are there monsters here?
And the vast majority of the encounter pool are now justified in their attempt to kill you because you are a massive threat.
It looks like that tile's a forced encounter, so...
You are the war criminal.
For my
And
sanity...
I think that's pretty neat. However, I don't really know how or why, but when I alt F4'd the game because I didn't want to deal with the consequences
Wizard
of my
Rod,
actions
another
at the
one.
end, having the entire world destroyed by my very own creation, this happened. I don't know why.
With the parts confused.
I don't really know how.
Ooh.
But it appears everyone is happy. So, fuck it. I'm happy too. Not with the game, but with this video. I don't want to elaborate on the ethics of selling your soul. I don't want to elaborate on the ethics of the soulless pacifist route. I don't want to elaborate on the neutral route and the potentially awful things you can do there. Or even further elaborate the genocide route and the extremely awful things you can do there. Just let me be free. I've done enough.
Water gauntlet. Defense great
After
sword?
a quick word from this video's actual sponsor, you guys.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was considering putting
can
this
cast
after
ruse.
that raid fake out, but I decided to put it here. If you like my content for whatever god-forsaken reason, and you want to support me directly, I have a Patreon that you can access with the links in the description. Likewise, there's supers and the YouTube members tab that you can access with that nifty little join button under the title, assuming YouTube doesn't break and decide it needs another
I
UI.
don't want to drop anything.
Whatever godforsaken reason. With that said, thank you for everything. Like, sincerely, I say this a lot, but you choosing to watch this video helps me out a lot more than you would probably expect, even if you don't do all those annoying button presses that those terrible green screens tell you. That being said, an extra parasocial thank you to Safi Ardert, 1, Cork Attack, HKS Hornet, Lungulus, Savbeat 3, Wahaj Enthusiast, Frank, Hannah K, Dope Dog, Anno 1, Al Diaz,
It's
Lumpus,
probably good.
B, Zach Gim,
I'm so
Freddy,
sorry, Miara.
Peachy Boy, Darling, M, Just a Plaid Shirt, Dan, Black Jade, Bess, Michael P, Redman, Catapult 1, Chair, Joseph Jury, Teddy Pear Guy, Teddy Pear, we're doing this one. Minister of Sauces, Mr. Bones, Higher Musical, No Goat, Vegeta, and Blazeheart. I can't begin to thank you enough for choosing to support me, of all people. Anyways, that was the video, I guess. If you enjoyed it,
I use it again.
glad you liked it.
I Oh, does the map wrap around itself? Is that what those stairs were? I'm pretty sure that was the entrance. What's in here? We can still go up once we exit. And I obviously want to know what'll happen. Alright, where are we going next? I need to go back to Malmond. And then apparently I can go to Lafenia now. Where's Malmond? Ah. I wonder if we can... Good. I recognize this place. Look, the Earth Orb is shining again. I am Jim, my home is the Dwarf village, but here I am investigating. I believe he's in the graves. What is he doing there? Hey, Sid. A slab! This slab will lead us to solve the riddle of the life finish. Now listen to me. Oh, I don't have this lab anymore. Make your way across the world and back to the town of Melmon. Head over to the Rosetta Stone to the scientist near Graves and he'll teach you the language. Here's the Lafenia town map. Lafenia is on the eastern side of the world on a small peninsula, just east of the large desert. Ah, where the Peninsula of Power is. I don't know how to get there by airship though. Since we're here. And we'll get access to level 7. I can't learn anything here. There must be somewhere I can land. It's the way to Bahamut's trial. This is the Mirage Desert. How do I get into you guys? If I dock in the desert, there's freaking mountains in the way. Huh? Okay, there has to be somewhere we can dock. Literally no point in going there. Oh, here we go. There's like a single tile. You're not worth it. I should just be more liberal. I have so many spell slots. I should just use them as much as I can. Also, ouch. Forest healing is only single target, and I don't have... It'd be nice if we had like a grass bell. There's no guide for where all the bells are. I've found 1, 2, 3 of them. I feel like I should have 4 by now. Bless, here we are. Oh, I forgot to... Maybe I should just drop these. And they aren't worth that much. I can repurchase them if need be anyhow. You know what? The quick jump boots are literally not doing anything. I don't know why, but they're not working. I think I should just drop them. I want more inventory. I'm pretty sure again I can just buy them back if need be. Although this might be stupid, I'm also getting rid of the silver helmet. Because again, I want more inventory. Sure, wow, Alma has more absorb now. Well, who knows? Maybe there'll be new armor. Yep, these are the Peninsula of Power enemies, alright. Good times. There you go. Although poison isn't as deadly to normal enemies as they are to us. Ooh. Oh wait, I have. Wait, does the wizard staff inflicts confusion on everyone? If so, that is awesome. Right, I forgot they aren't actually all that tough. Just incredibly dangerous on account of their ability to cast ice. We are the life niche. Only our bravest became sky warriors. Their airship was theirs. Sorry? At the time of destruction, a legend was born. In 400 years, warriors with oars will appear to save our people. Are you? Apparently. But really, we're just a group of lesbies. Oh, the Light Warriors, the legend is true. Is our face still dirty? Oh, this counts as grass terrain, apparently. The floating castle, our ancestors lived there. The Mirage Tower is the entrance. Yep. Our last 5 warriors left to find the cause of the world's decay. We know they live but as bats. So they're the guys that's been annoying me. We knew that a great power controlled the fiends. Our 5 bravest warriors left, never to return. Well, it's only 5 of them, so not all the bats, but some of them probably were. The power of wind was taken by Tiamat. Straight up just Tiamat from D&D. We fought with Tiamat, but we were unsuccessful. The fiend now inhabits our floating castle. With this chime, you can enter the Mirage Tower. Cool. Maiden Lefane. What? Is that really necessary? There's supposed to be an armor shop here and stuff. Where are they? Until 400 years ago, we controlled the power of the wind. This enabled us to suspend the castle in the air. 400 years ago, we had an advanced civilization. Our interest was the universe. Yeah, it seems I can go outside. The floating castle floats high in the sky, seemingly among the stars. We have passed on the legends from generation to generation, but 400 years have caused our memories to fade. I wonder if the robots made by our ancestors are still moving. Okay, there's a way to get to that. To get outside, but I don't know how. Aha! Ooh. It's literally just meteor again. But 4 times. Alright, it's just there for show, we can't actually use it. Alright, there's no new armor. I'm gonna go rebuy a helmet. I deeply regret that decision. I believe the caravan's my best choice. I should have cast float. Ow. I'm living with it. and here's the leaping boots. It's only 200. Alright, never mind. I guess I gotta get it from a normal store. I'll get my normal helmet in a normal store with normal money. Oh my god, can you fucking not? Is there an armor shop here? I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure it's a no. Yep. Where else can I go to buy equipment? Sky area, I believe. I'm curious. Yep. Oh. Alma can wear the cat claw. It's a very powerful knife. I'll stick with the one I currently have right now already on her. Not just dawns on me, but I think it's been a while since I last saved. I think. Let me just tent here as a precaution. I guess the next best place. For equipment should be Melmond. Good enough. Hey, I guess I can get the gauntlets too, but... No, were the silver helmets really just purchased at the normal shop? There's just Elf Town, Cornelia, the ocean, the place where we first got the ship that we haven't checked. Maybe Elfland has the silver. No. I believe they do have this spear that's like really expensive. No. Where did I find that? Expensive ass spear. Oh right, there's the Crescent Lake place. I forgot about that town. What do they have for sale there? You're joking me. Can't be bothered with you guys, please. There we go. I guess I'll just have to accept that I only have 2 slots. I keep forgetting Alma's sword can use a ruse. What does ruse do? I believe ruse increases evasion. It was the other option I had, other than fog. But ruse 1 means it can only be used on the self, right? Does that make Alma a viable tank? I mean, she already is. Her absorb's basically on par with Umag. So if Umag ever decides to jump high in the air, Alma can still protect the party. Alright. Next episode, the Mirage Tower. T-Rex in the desert. Ow, why? Yeah, cool. There, I'll save here. For the house to get everyone up to max. Peak conditions. I used this at the top of the tower, I'm pretty sure. Right. Before I go, I need to check on some stuff. Oh boy, a chimera. Right, I was hoping to challenge multiple foes rather than just a single guy. Let's keep going. Here we go. I should probably just get rid of Iron Staff. I'm running low on weapon slots as well. Yeah, confused affects everyone. Unfortunately, these guys can't get confused. Alright. It's pretty PogChamp.